most of your life you did research on karst aquifers, karst ecosystems. And our first question is, how did you come to study karst and to settle on this topic?
Okay. It's quite a story that maybe it traced back to 1957. That time I just returned from Tibet. At that time my job is based in Beijing, in the Ministry of Geology. There's a branch under the Ministry of Geology is the Department of Hydrogeology. After my work in Tibet, the leaders asked me to stay in Beijing to do some office work. But I think my answer is that I would like to go to outside, leave Beijing, not stay in Beijing. So there's at that time it happened that the Yangtze Valley Authority, there's a shortage of geologists in the Yangtze Valley Authority. And then they asked help from the Ministry of Geology. At that time they sent me to the Yangtze Valley Authority in Wuhan. And then my work, which Yangtze Valley Authority asked me to do, is to make a plan of the Wujiang River. Wujiang River, as you know, is flows through Guizhou province. And it is the main tributary of Yangtze River in the south of Yangtze. And my job is to join and see the hydro engineering to select the dam site along the Wujiang River. It took me about 3 months from the upper reach of Wujiang River to walk along the whole Wujiang River down to the confluence of Wujiang and Yangtze. Now it's in Chongqing, the Fuling city of the Chongqing municipality. And I was very impressed by the karst along the Wujiang River. There's a lot of gorge, many underground streams, many big karst springs along the river. But the concern is that the dam site, when the dam site has some underground stream on the dam site, may happen series of leakage problems. So we do a lot of work. Every dam site the hydro engineering selected, we should look after the feasibility of it, to look at the karst features, the dolines and the caves, and the big karst springs, and the other karst features, and that. So this is the first time I was quite involved in the karst. As for the main purpose of hydropower engineering, the relation with the karst research. That is, it's taken me 3 months. Every day I was working in the karst region for 3 months. And all my work, at that time the traffic conditions not very good. No highway, every day just by walk. Every day there's a walk 20 kilometers. And every day we move over no hotel, we just stay in the farmer's house. A small team, just 6 or 7 people work. There's a topography, the engineering, the hydropower engineer, and also a geologist, and also the people for navigation and the comprehensive team work together. That is the first time. And after that, after I finished my work in the Wujiang River, then I returned to Beijing again. It happened, and I asked for what should I do the next? And I asked my boss in the Ministry of Geology again. At that time, the Shandong province, in 1957, there's a very severe drought in Shandong province. So the provincial leaders asked the central government to send a hydrogeological team to Shandong to help drilling the water well to help solve the problem, the water shortage problem. And then I was asked as the principal chief, the chief hydrogeologist, a big team that previously was located in Beijing municipality. And I was appointed as the chief hydrogeologist of the team, and bring the whole team down to the Shandong province. And Shandong, as you know, is another province with a lot of karst. It is the basic geology of it is a big dome, and with the axial part is arching the preceding and the Precambrian metamorphic rock. The surrounding it is all Ordovician and Cambrian limestone, which occupied almost the whole city. So I was involved the 2 years there to work for drilling the well in the Karst aquifer, and also for building some small reservoirs. That is also located in the limestone area. So my job is to, on one hand, to find a place suitable for building the reservoir. So on the other hand, to help the well siting, where to drill the borehole that they had. So that is my second experience about the karst. And afterward, I would not. It took me about 30 or 40 years long history. I cannot tell whole things in a very short interview. I just can mention I moved from one province to another province as the chief hydrogeologist of the province. The province I have ever worked include the Yunnan province, and then Guangxi province, and sometimes my work also, because it is a hydrogeology, it is a 6th hydrogeological team of the Ministry of Geology, located in Liuzhou, and but it is in charge of the whole South China karst, because it is the 6th hydrogeological team affiliated directly to the Ministry of Geology. So my work all in the Guangxi, Guangdong, and Hunan, and Guizhou, and Yunnan province. So almost all my work are related to karst. But until, I should mention, until 1978, all my work is as a chief hydrogeologist of province, or the 6th hydrogeological team directly affiliated to the ministry. And as you know, after the 1978, the policy in China is open. After the Deng Xiaoping took the office, and reform, and pay more attention to the scientific research, and learn from outside. At that time, the Institute of Karst Geology was established, and they should find a director, the first director of the institute. At that time, the leader in the Ministry of Geology considered I was a pertinent person to be chosen as a director, because I have many experience in the Karst region. But to talk honestly, at that time, my knowledge is very limited about the Karst, because my knowledge basically related to the practical problems, such as engineering work and the water supply, to study the aquifers of that. But nothing like this course, as you know, Bill White talk about the formation of Karst, the Karst landform, and that. I have a very limited knowledge, but according to my understanding, what is that? What is it? We have our own terms about the Karst features. As you know, after the open up to the outside, the first thing we should do is to learn from outside. What happened? What is thinking about the Karst in Europe or in America? So this is what the central government encourage the scientists to do. My first contact to the outside is a veteran hydrogeologist from USGS. His name is Dr. William Beck. He's now working at the Hydrogeology division of the USGS. He's a very active man and very much like the international the cooperation. So at that time, I think the relationship, the diplomatic relationship between China and the US just established. And then there's as you know, there's a Karst Commission and the IIH. And there's most of the members are European people and American people. There's no people from China involved. That is why Dr. William Beck is very anxious to find people from China to be involved in the IIH Karst Commission. That is, and together with Henri Parroch from France. Yes, at that time, Henri Parroch is the president of Karst Commission of IIH. And then he and Henri Parroch together introduced me to be a member of the Karst Commission of the IIH. My first meeting with Dr. William Beck is not in United States, but in France. There's a Karst Commission meeting in France. This is 1981. And Dr. William Beck can speak very good Spanish, you know. He gave lectures in Barcelona, in Spain. And at that time, there's an underground the laboratory in the Moulis in the southern France. And when I visited Moulis, the underground laboratory, and William Beck came across the border and drive to the Moulis, and we meet my first meet with Dr. William Beck is the Wallis. Yes. And then afterwards, William Beck visited China with the American scientist delegation, and he contacted me, and he came to to Guilin, and then this is the exchange, the relationship, and then we get a cooperation agreement between the USGS and the Chinese Ministry of Geology of China, and then that is my involvement into the international karstology and karst hydrogeology. But I'm not satisfied with only karst hydrogeology. As you know, the course of this hydrogeological arrangement is very good. It started with karst geomorphology. I have the similar thinking about at the early 1980s. So I invited at that time. I think let me talk about the British delegation. The first visit of British Geography delegation from Royal Society is headed by late Dr. Marjorie Sweeting from Oxford. And that are my first meeting with Marjorie Sweeting is very brief, just at 1977. But after I took the office of the Institute of Karst Geology, I think we should have more understanding about the international idea of karst geomorphology. So I, as a director of the institute, I invite Dr. Marjorie Sweeting came to Guilin to give a series of lectures about the karst landform. And we are very keen to learn from the basic term of karst, from Karin, Dolin, Lapi, that, and to let more people to understand it, and that was just like a course. First in the classroom, he teach about it, and then we go to the field around Guilin. Guilin is a very good site for karst education. Every minor features we learn from her, and then such kind of knowledge is popularized in China. And one of the important is we organize a dictionary of karst terminology, and at the help of Marjorie Sweeting, and also we quoted Monroe, Watson Monroe's USGS publication about the glossary of karst, and we make a comparison of what happened in China, and then the term after term we get translated into China. But I'm not quite satisfied even with the topography. We should know what it's developed, the chemical, the thermodynamic origin of that. At this time, the Martin, his discussion about the carbonate chemistry. So later we asked William Beck, to give a series of lectures about karst hydrochemistry. And the content of his lecture is similar with Martin's lecture. Yes, Guilin, yes. Just like how to calculate the saturation index of that. And he gave us the very simple the software. It's a WhatsApp and we use it in our institute. At that time, we started to get our calcite, dolomite saturation index. So that is, and by and by we keep in contact with the international. So the Chinese hydrogeologists will get more involved in the international cycle. After many years in my work in the Karst Commission of IIH, I also made my contribution to introduce many Chinese karst programs, karst hydrogeological program available in the international journals and IIH publications. But the highlight of the institute, I think it happened in 1988. At the support of the International Association of Hydrogeologists, we have the 21st Hydrogeological Congress in Guilin. Yes, and the topic of this International Hydrogeological Congress is karst hydrology and environment. So, and at that time, because of a lot of people want to know the China, about hydrogeology in China, so it's a big conference of more than 500 people attended the conference in Guilin, and include many important karst scientists and hydrogeologists. And the United States sent the biggest delegation, headed by the director of USGS, and many people from European, both karst geomorphology and that. So there's several excursions, and then let many people understand what happened in China and what is the main karst hydrogeological problems in China. According to my understanding, I organized the discussion about introduced Chinese karst hydrogeology in two parts. One is North China, another is South China. The main problem is South China. You already understood that. But in North China is the relationship between coal mining and the pollution of the automation and the camping aquifers, and there's a lot of discussion about the water intrusion in the coal mine and the pollution of the aquifer. That in South China, you understand the underground stream problem, water shortage, and the rock desertification, and all that problem. So the outside understand, and the exchange continuously. But after the support of the IIH and also International Union of Speleology, and also, as you know, Dr. Marjorie Sweeting is a member of the International Geographic Union. So there's also a karst commission. They all interest about the karst in China. So that time, many at the support of IIH karst commission, we apply an IGCP project. That is the starting of my job at the UNESCO IGCP, at the encouragement of world karst scientists, especially hydrogeology. We apply the first, with success, the first IGCP project is the IGCP 299. The name, the title is Geology, Climate, Hydrology, and Karst Formation. And all the karst friends of the world support that. So it turned out we get a better understanding from world comparison we use the idea of the karst feature complex. And then there's a debate. This is maybe one of my contributions for the world comparison of karst for the IGCP 299. It happened in 1998 in Bowling Green. There's I think it is 8th Congress of UIS, and there's 2 papers. One by the Derek Ford, another by Guilin from Australia, and there's the Derek Ford considered that the pinnacles in the Rocky Mountain area is something like the tropical karst. Yes. So he considered the climatal background is not so reliable. The pinnacle could happen both in the tropical region and also in the Rocky Mountain, the Kasagard region like that. But the geogenius make a response that don't throw the baby away, but pour the bath water. That he's still considered the climate still very important. I think a lot about why such a situation happened. I think if you only consider one type of karst features, you cannot make a real comparison of a world karst. So, for the implication, if we cannot find a way out, we only such pinnacles is tropical, such or such cave is subtropical, or such is temperate karst. Is maybe some confusion like that example may happen. So I raised up an idea of a karst feature complex to match the micro form and the macro form, to match the surface form and the subsurface form, and also the depositional form and the dissolution form. That I give a definition is the karst feature complex. And at that time, to let people get more understanding of that, we take the China as an example. In 1991, we have the first meeting of IGCP 299. We take the China as an example from tropical karst in Guilin to the plateau karst in Guizhou and to the high mountain karst in Tibet. And the long trip, and then the Guilin mountain karst as the divide between tropical and arid. Because of the involvement of carbon dioxide in the karst process, there should be some relation with the global warming, the greenhouse effect, and the karst process. So we have another the IGCP project, and then it is 379. The karst process and the carbon cycle, and we try to get some estimation about the global change to let the karst study to be involved in the global change study in 2 ways. One is to use the karst process as to estimate the karst as a sink or source, and the second is the use of the spiritism as the karst record for paleo environmental reconstruction. And this course is in the world, I think it started very early. It maybe traced back to 1960s. Some American papers already do that. But during that time, in the 90s, I think in the 1990s, such papers are growing up. A lot of papers do that work all over the continent, and also in China. There's 8 institutions to do this videos work, also in the Southwest University. And then I think after that, the ecological problem is also important. So in China is the rock desertification, and in the Mediterranean region, so we have the third project about ecological study of karst and ecosystems. So all of them, I think, are related with practical problems. Mm-hmm. That is world concern. And then we moved to karst aquifers with Priscilla as the leader of that. Very anxious to contact with the young people. Dr. Chris Grove, he's young. In comparison with Dr. Bill Beck, he's more than 70, few years older than me. Yes, and then, so let our cooperate. And I will hand over to young people in China. Mm-hmm. And so you continue such cooperation. And that I think the most important job from my job at the present time for karst study is to transfer such cooperation from to the young generation, such as Dr. Jiang, Dr. Liu in Guilin, and then still younger, like chocolate, and to contact you, the younger generation, cooperation to continue. Mm-hmm. That is the things I pay more attention at the present time. And also not only people in America and European like you, it is very helpful to us. It's very nice that the Chris Grove initiated the US idea project that is a good platform for our future cooperation. And it's very good that he has European people involved in it. And so continue our cooperation, but in several continents together. I think the karst problem is need still a longer time to. There's many new problems happen, such as vulnerability assessment, standard water resources. From one hand, the karst problem is very complicated. As my understanding of karst aquifer is that mostly important is the heterogeneity, as you mentioned this morning. And I have wrote a special paper. The first paper to the IIH is on the heterogeneity of karst water. I gave the talk in Turkey. This is also Turkey is there's also an institute of karst water in Hydrogeologist University, and they organize international meeting for many times. My talk is first about the heterogeneity of karst water took place at that time. So such problem is, I think, is not solved yet. How to estimate, how to exploit, how to prevent pollution, basically related to heterogeneity of the karst water. So we need a lot of new techniques such as caving, tracing, and that have been improved. I'm very glad to see the tracing technology is very much improved, and that so we need to make more effort to do the karst study. And the more we concern and to solve the practical, many new practical problems. as I mentioned, the South China Karst 3,000 underground stream need to be protected because the situation is getting worse. That is why I reported a special report to the State Council of China to call our attention about how to protect. But to solve such a problem is not easy. I think you need scientific knowledge and encourage the local people's participation and education, all very important, and technology. So I think that maybe it is a too long talk. The present I think my important job is to training the young people to transfer the flag to the younger generation.
Yes.
Especially, I should mention at the time of the 70s, late 60s to 70s. At that time is, the Cultural Revolution at the time. All the intellectuals in China moved from their post. At that time, very shortly, in about 3 years, I moved from my position as the chief engineer, as a chief hydrogeologist. I was appointed as to lead a small team to the countryside to help the people to find the drinking water. Perhaps you know this from some movies that many intellectuals are moved from their position of profession to for example, the artists are asked to raise cattle and that. But I'm lucky. I'm not asked to do that. I just asked to go to the rural area to help the people to find their water. So I moved from the administration paperwork and to do more practical work. For a lot of cave, to do caving, and to find then we don't have a single rope technique, but we do have our rope to guarantee our safety to the down. Yes, and I try to collect the method people are used to find waters. They have many. The local people have many experience. For example, they tell us how to identify the fish species, and to get some relationship between the fish, the amount of fish, and the quantity of water at the ground, and how to notice the smoke from the cave in the winter, and then we connect with some cavity underground, and because they also look after their cattle on the Karst mountains. They have many knowledge about which entrance may be connected with underground streams. So I learned a lot from the farmers, and then my feedback is that I summarize all this knowledge in 1970. Before I came to the institute, I wrote a book that is summarize all the experience to feed back to the people. How to although I also include some technology which the farmers don't know, and I also summarize the knowledge from the farmers. The name of the book is the Karst Hydrogeology for Water Supply. Just a very big book in Chinese, and the feedback. And it is well written in Chinese. The many schools, many universities, and all the geological bureaus in the Karst regions use that as a handbook to do that. Now it is out of print.
Could you tell us some of your experiences from Tibet or the work you did there?
Yeah, okay. That is my favorite things. I went there as a member of engineering team of the state council. It's a very high level, but the people is very limited, just 40 people. But the affiliation is very not affiliated to the Ministry of Geology, it's directly under the leadership of the Premier. Why? At that time, the Dalai Lama, the local government of Tibet, asked the central government to help with the flood problems in the Nianchu River of the Shikate in the western part of it, and also to help provide electricity for the Budala Palace, because there's a shortage of electricity. So he also asked the central government to help develop the local industry there. I was very lucky to be involved. 3 geologists, including I was the head of the 3 people go there. And my job there is just to I spent 3 years there, and to have the dam siting, to build a small hydropower station, and to have the dike along the tributary of the Yaluzambu River to help with the, and we start from select the place, the site of the dam, the electrical power, and then to investigate engineering, geological investigation, and the boring boreholes, and also involved in the construction until the electrical power station was finished, and then I returned. At that time, I made applications that I should remain there to do more work there, but I was asked to return to do, as I mentioned, the work in the Wujiang River, very involved in the Karst. And because there's such a small hydropower station, just 2,000 kilowatt, but it's enough for the use of the Budala Palace and the small township in the Lhasa region at that time. So we took this chance to make overall hydropower resources along the Yaluzambu River. So it took me about another 3 months from the middle reach of the Yaluzambu River to walk along it, along this river to the border of India. For also 3 months walk every day, walk about 20 kilometers that walk along. So they get a very good impression about the natural condition of Tibet. And there's a gorge, and there's a high plateau with a yak and that. And when I returned, at that time very underdeveloped at that time, and the system, the social system is very crucial. That because it is a slave, the agriculture slave system. So I did see them very crucial things. That the local head punished the slaves very cruelly, And but at that time, because of agreement between the central government and the local Dalai Lama, we cannot interfere it. And we are asked by our leaders. We just can see that we are not allowed to criticize, not allowed to speak out. Just that time because there's agreement, the system not changed. So it gives an idea that the very backward social system, and the living condition is poor. And at that time when I was in the Yaluzambu lower reach of Yaluzambu River, it's a very severe earthquake just happened 2 years ago. And all the house is destroyed. We have no place to stay. Just stay in the forest, in the field, and there's many black bear in it. So we have to keep our fire burning, and all the night. And we have sleep in turn. We'll keep one person awake to keep the fire, and then we sleep in turn. And the high plateau is a very good, nice grass at the elevation higher than 4,000 meters. No problem. And all the people are living on the plateau. More than 4,000 meters higher, and all the people live in a tent. The tent is built by the yak's hair. They first build a rope with the yak hair, and they weave it into some kind of a cloth, and then make their tent. That time, and so all everybody on the plateau stay in the yak hair tent, and they have no fuel, no coal mine there. So what they burn is the yak's waste. The yak's waste, they dry it, and then make as their fuel. They consider that the yak's waste is very clean. They even when it's very precious. When they dump the yak waste with it, the people collect it quickly when it is still warm. And even when it is a lot of yak waste, and they take off his hat to accumulate this yak waste and then bring back. So that is my impression of it. 50 years ago. Now, when I return twice, last year and this year, my job is to go to examine the retreat of glacier because of the global warming. But at that time, I visited my former place. The electric power station is no longer used, because in the small creek, and it's turned into a granite quarry, and because the capacity is very low, now there's a very big electric power station. So the capacity of 200,000. So that small one is no longer used, and then. Everywhere the electricity, the Lhasa city is getting bigger, and on the plateau, the pastures have their own house, already have their own house, and some of them are very rich because of the herb medicine. Some of the herb medicine grow on the plateau are very precious. Even that 1 kilogram at the price of 100,000 Chinese yuan.
Of what?
Yes.
A kilogram of what?
Yes, I don't know the English name. That is a root of grass that looks like a worm. So the Chinese name is worm grass. Worm grass. Yeah, 虫草.
Yeah. It can be two. I think it can be two. How to say the lifestyle or be animal and vegetation.
Yeah.
So it's really very expensive medicine.
Yeah. And it can grow on the plateau. The Tibetan people collect it. Yes. So some of them now become very rich, and then they have their own motorcycles, and they even have a small car and the truck, and they live in a good country. But the fuel they use still the yak waste, but they have a good stove to have a good ventilation condition. And to use this fuel more efficiently, and keep the warmth of the house. The condition is much improved. I'm very glad to see it.
I would have another question. You already mentioned some of the environmental problems in China, but in fact in Western country we have this perception that China experienced a big economic boom during the past 2 decades maybe, but at the same time that there are really catastrophic, very severe ecological, environmental problems. Could you name some of the main problems and maybe the measures that need to be taken in your opinion?
That is the one of the problems I work upon it. And for several times I make some suggestions to the central government. And one of the most severe problem in southwest China is the rock desertification, and I think this is the result of malpractice in land use. From one hand, it's the background is fragile because the soil forming capability of the limestone is very limited because of everything dissolved away, and nothing, very few things remain to make soil. And also there's development of underground drainage system, and so there's a shortage of surface water, and also because of strong uplift. If we compare it with other Karst regions, such as Florida and Mexico, and they are very low. Even they have Karst features. The water table is not as deep as our plateaus, carbohydrate, so it is deep. So the conditions here is very serious. The background is more fragile than other Karst regions of the world. And talk about also the limestone here is more older and compact. If you compare with which Dr. Comte talk about the porous limestone in Florida and Bahamas. And so China's Karst region face more serious background for such ecological problems, rock desertification. On the other hand, we have a higher population pressure than other part. So, because of, as I mentioned, high population pressure, limited land resources, to get enough food, they should plow the very limited land resources, even the soil in the limited the fishes. So if we more reasonably, we should not plow corn or sweet potatoes in such fishes, because once you plow it, the soil gets loose, and after the storm, the soil may be more easy to wash away. Yeah, I think this is a higher population pressure. The problem, I think, is related to the problem, the practice trace back to 40 years ago. That is lost control of the population increase, and that in the central government, the late Chairman Paul, he asked the more people, the more prosperous the economy, and also encourage the people to give birth to more children. So that why we have a very high overburden of the population. But anyway, the 1.3 billion people already exist. We should solve the problem according to our practical conditions. So to get enough food, the plow it and the rock relocation happen. That is the one, the simple explanation about that. To solve such problems, we should change our manner of way of land use. That is what I'm working about. First, that is in the central government. That is they also take care of the problem of rock desertification, because our repeat suggestion in the past. I think about nearly 20 years of asked to take into account. And some of the leaders themselves come to this countryside to have a look themselves. So this already, in the next 20 years, there's a very big drive to have the rehabilitation of rock desertification areas for southwest China. So the science and the technology became more important. We are happy we have to do such research work already in the past 10 years. We have worked on some demonstration site, as Chris group already know. So to grow some, as I introduced in my talk, to grow the plant as a bush, that have both economic and ecological benefit. That some of them can make animal fodders, and some species can make medicines, such as that. Such bush can grow there without the plow, the farmland. And I think change such land use practice may be an important way. But to keep a balance between the ecology recovery and the economic income, still a puzzling problem, because natural condition in southwest China is varied from place to place. Not on one way is not enough. So we should find more way according to practical conditions to divide the South China into several different ways. For hydrology, for water supply problem, we also need to divide it into different smaller regions which have practical conditions. For example, some places we can use the very heterogeneous Karst water, we can use the underground stream. But in other place, I have recently have a trip in Guizhou province. In the Cambrian Ordovician dolomite is more or less even aquifer, more porous, so they can still drill borehole to get their well. The well completion, the percentage of well completion is very high, not as a limestone region. So you should do things according to practical conditions. For a hydrogeologist, he should find a different way to solve different kind of water supply and hydrogeological problems. We should do more. On the other hand, we should do protection. That I mentioned, I think very important to prevent the pollution from the countryside industry and the mining activity and the traffic building and things to prevent such things. We should make more vulnerability assessment and the mapping, and from the simplified one to more complicated one, to let the government, planners, and more concise, more conscious about the importance of it, to find a way out for protection. Now the pollution of the Andogrossian is really a concern problem, because already we have environmental protection law to forbid any pooling of wastewater into the soil hole. But in practice, many places they do that, still do that. So the education and the more stronger control, the legal control, I think many things to do in the future. Still, we should have a qualified young people, science and education to continue such effort, young people.
Mm-hmm.
So the education is very important. We should improve our work. I should say a few words about this southwest the base, another base. After my base in the Guilin have some people to do continual work there. At the invitation of the Southwest University, I take about 1/3 of time here they are very keen at the Karst subject, and they considered the Karstology should be the main direction of this physical geography of the Southwest China. So I'm very lucky to have them. So I take about 1/3 of my time here to establish the Karst group here. I came here about 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very lucky to say that the condition improved. And I think the implementation of USRD is of great help to the development of such a Karst center here. It's very helpful. Not only the technology, also the personnel and the facilities and the knowledges, and I think it's very helpful. I think and such the help of such a project, I think they will be grow up very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Many people are involved in the course, and even outside from the geography department, many people from other departments take the course here. Yes.
What would be some more advice that you would have for your students? You said that the cooperation with the international cooperation is very important, and that educating the students here is very important to you. So do you have any other advice to your students and the young scientists that work here at Southwest and also at Guilin?
I do find some of them very good,
Mm-hmm.
very good. But I should keep a secret. I do not tell out who is more because I should equally educate everybody. But in my mind, some of them very good. I'd pay more attention of them and give them more chance to grow up. But in general, I will educate everybody equitable. Yeah. I do find some of them very good.
Mm-hmm.
I think my standard is not only how much school he or she got, but he is very active. He or she should be active with good English and a very good background of or chemistry or some geography and that. And especially they have a good teamwork and ready to cooperate with other peoples. And even they can make a speech to express he or herself or himself to express, not shy, and they can speak up then to have a good dialogue ability, to talking, to exchange ability with others.
Anyway, there must be, how to say, as best as you want.
Yeah. I do find some of them very good. But one of my challenges is how to remain the people here, literally. Because many young people tend to move to the east part. Well, here is underdeveloped. Yeah. But although the central government are really pay more attention to the west, but the condition here is getting improved very quickly. But the salary, the income is not as high as the eastern part here. So this is a big challenge. But we should establish a good condition here to do research, and then maybe some of them willing to remain here to the future. I think after when we have an international research center at Karst, and maybe we have mobilized the people everywhere to have more contact with outside. Yeah.
I wanted to know more about when you were a child and your family you lived in the east, and then you told me after the war with the Japanese started, you moved here into Guilin. Can you tell us about your family and growing up and how that happened and you moved and when you came here?
Yes. I first came here during the World War II, and all the route of my travel is follow my parents. And my father is before the war. He majored in education, and he is a professor in Shanghai. At that time not the first. He's a principal of middle school in Shanghai at that time. And after he got his education from Japan in the education, majored education as a postgraduate student in Japan. And when he returned, he got his job in Shanghai as a principal of middle school. And after that, after the beginning of the World War II, Shanghai is occupied by Japan. So we escaped it. First come to Zhejiang, and the Japanese come to Zhejiang again, and then we moved to Hunan province, and then Hunan is also occupied again. We moved to Guizhou and Guiyang. It's a long march as a refugee. So even as my mother gave birth to a child, me and my sister, older sister. She is 6 years older than me. When the war began, I was just 6 years old, and my sister was 12. And at the very beginning, when Shanghai is occupied, my father joined the army to fight against Japan in Hunan province. So I and my sister was put into a refugee campus in Wuhan, and the central government take care of us to Chongqing. It is 1939, something like that. I don't quite remember, 1938 or 1939. When the central government moved to Chongqing, I and my sister, like I said, as a refugee in the children's refugee campus, moved to Chongqing. And afterwards, because the central government considered my father have a good expertise in education, he was asked to establish a normal university in Hunan. So he returned from the army to the Hunan province to establish a normal university in Hunan. And then we are asked to move from Chongqing to Hunan. This is the story. And then my father moved to another university in Guiyang, and then we will also come to, and then in Zhongshan University in Guangzhou, and then like that. And finally, in the 40s, 1940, when I was about 10 years old, in 1943, my father moved to Central University. It is in Chongqing. And myself joined the middle school of the Central University, which is located in Qinglugan, the town. The place that just outside the Jiangjiarongdong, the spring, the big spring. But all the house is changed, no concrete at that time. That just the bamboo wall, and to put some lime and the mud on it, just a very simple house. And this is a very important place. Why the house and the middle school are moved to the countryside, like the Jiangjiarongdong area. Even the Ministry of Education is the opposite of this Karst Valley. It's very important. That is because the downtown area is often bombed by the Japanese air raid. So they encouraged all the dispersed, all the ministry or dispersed everywhere. So there's several ministry along the highway in this region. That is why second time I came to Chongqing, then get my education, my middle school education here. And when the surround of Japanese, and then follow the middle school of the Central University, I moved from Chongqing to Nanjing, and I got my education, finished my education in Nanjing in the middle school. And at that time, it happened that the takeover of a communist the party take over the government, and then I was involved. At that time, I graduated from the College of Geology from Nanjing, and then started my work in geology in all over China. At the beginning, in 1952, I finished my College of Geology education, and then I enrolled in the Ministry of Geology in Beijing. Based in the first years, in 50s, all my work is based in Beijing, and they sent me to the Tibet, to Guizhou and everywhere. After 1958, there I no longer in Beijing. I moved from Shandong to Yunnan and several provinces I talk about, all in the southwest China province. That is my story.
Right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, it's a pleasure to talk about.
But it impressed me so much that you still enjoy, how to say, yourself or your life during very, very hard times. Yeah, that's always what the geologists they be.
Yes, I hope you will do the same.